"Thank you," he said. "Bitte." His training came instantly to hand. He caught the fellow with the heel of his pump just above the hip bone, where the ball of the femur met the socket. The young man folded like a regatta day lawn chair. To add insult to injury, Drummond kicked him in the ribs and stepped over him. A hand clutched at his ankle, but he shook it away. Yet another youth came pushing his way through the crowd of men and women leaving the station. It was Drummond's first full view of the uniforms the young men wore. The boy wore a dark blue peaked cap and a matching long coat with a high collar. The coat was cut very tight around the body, but loose in the arms. Above the left side pocket was a kind of leather bag buttoned to his waist. The coat fell to his knees and the top of his boots, but in the middle it tapered to a point almost a foot lower. Every bit of trim on the blue coat, the collar, the sleeves, and the apron of his coat was piped with an almost festive red. Drummond realized for the first time that it was snowing. He'd been too occupied to notice it before. Clouds of vapor wreathed the boy's head, and the pedestrians pinched their collars about their necks. A fine layer of snow lay on the pavement ahead. It had probably begun that very morning. All would have been fine, and he'd have waited for the youth to come after him, but instead the boy's hand reached for the leather holster at his waist. Drummond couldn't take the chance. He leapt forward and caught his attacker's forearm with his heel, savagely breaking the bones. The youth's limbs shot out from under him and he fell. Nearby, a woman gave a scream of alarm, but no one stopped to help. It was too cold. Acne, Drummond muttered to himself. The youth had acne. Were there no men in their country willing to make the journey? Surely someone older must be leading this band of well-dressed youths. The prize he brought with him was worth a fortune after all. It could also start a war. For all he knew, it already had. Drummond burst into Whitehall Street, and his head naturally turned right, where Admiral Nelson watched sagely over London from his 160-foot pedestal. The Admiral still stood, one-armed and wily as ever. England still reigned. Drummond himself finally had something to show for it, this work he'd been doing for so many months. Now all he had to do was survive another eighth of a mile. His head turned left. At the far end of the street, across from the Houses of Parliament, and hiding Westminster Abbey from view, were the Home and Foreign Offices. He'd come hundreds of miles by rail to get here, used many a stratagem to survive, took such resources as he could in order to make it this far. His last meal had been a bun pinched from the kitchen of the Orient Express. He dared not be so open as to have a meal in the dining car. But then he knew every inch of the train, from roof to undercarriage, and every place he could squeeze his 6-foot frame into. There was no one about in Whitehall Street, no one dangerous, no dreaded bluecoats. How many had followed him? It was impossible to tell. Drummond knew this area like the back of his hand. When he joined the Foreign Office as a clerk, he delivered messages to almost every building in the street. The Admiralty, the Horse Guards, Scotland Yard, Downing Street. Now he skirted an alley hurrying to Great Scotland Yard Street. Surely no one could attack him in front of the gates of Scotland Yard. He trotted south. There were too many pedestrians on the pavement and a crush of vehicles in the street. Hay had been strewn on the dirty cobblestones to give the horses traction in the snow. It was frigid cold. Not too much farther, he told himself. The Foreign Office was growing bigger and bigger ahead of him. He bumped shoulders with another man. "Beg pardon," he murmured. A pain went through him, a flash of heat like a poker. Then he felt something being drawn out of him. Immediately he had trouble breathing. Air simply would not be drawn into his paralyzed lungs. He looked over his shoulder. A man stood there regarding him, the man whom he had bumped into. There was a sword in his hand. As he watched,